Yeah. So I think, weaving in something like spirituality, mysticism, and theology is important from a few different perspectives. One is that the clinical trials that have been going on have noticed how mystical experiences, spiritual experiences are very important aspects of those psychedelic experiences that people are having. They have clinical value as well. And so better having these people who have more of a focus on understanding what the nature of those experiences are, how they maybe a psychedelic experience compares to a spiritual experience not under psychedelics, can help us better understand what's going on clinically, but also having them present there can also tie into things like what some of the other speakers, like in the pedagogy and training session, will be talking about, which is having, therapists or psychiatrists may not always be the best individual to administer the medicine. Perhaps you want somebody who has a religious background, similar to your religious background, administering that medicine. And so, I think Brian McCarthy, one of our speakers, is talking on Christianity and psychedelic medicine, a pastoral approach to administering that medicine. And that's really important because it's just another way that we can imagine how this will actually translate to being used therapeutically. And that sort of like pastoral approach, chaplaincy approach is something that is really new within the field right now. And we're really excited to have that sort of conversation here.
Hi again, friends. David Flores here, host of the Psychedelic Spotlight podcast. And conference season here in the psychedelic sector is about to get off to the races. There are several very exciting and intriguing conferences on the docket for the remainder of 2023. And of course, we here at Psychedelic Spotlight look forward to being able to highlight and cover as many of those events as possible. One event that I will be personally attending is the PhilaDelic Conference, which is scheduled to take place at the University of Pennsylvania on July 13th through the 15th. And here to share some details about PhilaDelic is University of Pennsylvania PhD candidate. He's also chair of Graduate Advisory Board for Penn Psychedelics Collaborative, co-founder, director of internal operations for the Intercollegiate Psychedelics Network, and co-organizer of PhilaDelic, Victor Acero. Victor, great to see you again. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about PhilaDelic, what's going on with that, what the purpose of this conference is, and what we hope this means for the community here at Penn and the field in general.
Absolutely. I mean, you kind of teed it up right there. PhilaDelic is a conference on the interdisciplinary frontiers of psychedelic studies. Certainly looking forward to attending it. So if you wouldn't mind giving our viewers and listeners kind of an overview of what we can expect from PhilaDelic.
Yeah, so PhilaDelic right now has confirmed a little over 32 speakers across 12 different disciplines or session themes. So some examples of that is we have a consciousness and mind session, law and public policy, psychiatric applications, physiology and biology, creativity, awe and aesthetics, history, sociology, anthropology. So we have a lot of different topics that we're covering because we think that, even though the psychiatric stuff tends to get a lot of the attention and a lot of the spotlight when we're talking about psychedelics and this new resurgence of research and academic focus and industry and accessibility. A lot of the other disciplines, I feel like, don't get the same attention. And it's not only a detriment to those disciplines not getting the proper attention, but ultimately, we think that by having all these different sorts of disciplines and backgrounds together in one room, there's unexpected ways in which cross-pollination will happen and new and unique ways of approaching problems and new collaborations emerge that ultimately is to the benefit of all these different groups, not just the groups that don't get a lot of attention, but even groups like psychiatry and physiology that do tend to be well given a lot of attention, they will also benefit from having all these other unique perspectives in the room with them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think being able to tie all of these different perspectives into the conversation, I think is important. And so, you kind of highlighted a little bit of what is scheduled here in terms of speakers. We got topics being covered such as consciousness and mind, law and public policy, psychiatric applications, all the way down to spiritualism, mysticism, and theology. Help folks out there understand, I mean, obviously coming from a scientific and clinical background, but I mean, how important is it to weave in conversations around, let's take, spiritualism and mysticism into the conversation surrounding psychedelics?
Yeah. So I think, weaving in something like spirituality, mysticism, and theology is important from a few different perspectives. One is that the clinical trials that have been going on have noticed how mystical experiences, spiritual experiences are very important aspects of those psychedelic experiences that people are having. They have clinical value as well. And so better having these people who have more of a focus on understanding what the nature of those experiences are, how maybe a psychedelic experience compares to a spiritual experience not under psychedelics, can help us better understand what's going on clinically. But also having them present there can also tie into things like what some of the other speakers, like in the pedagogy and training session, we'll be talking about, which is having, therapists or psychiatrists may not always be the best individual to administer the medicine. Perhaps you want somebody who has a religious background, similar to your religious background, administering that medicine. And so, I think Brian McCarthy, one of our speakers, is talking on Christianity and psychedelic medicine, a pastoral approach to administering that medicine. And that's really important because it's just another way that we can imagine how this will actually translate to being used therapeutically. And that sort of like pastoral approach, chaplaincy approach is something that is really new within the field right now. And we're really excited to have that sort of conversation here. And then people like Chris Beisch are bringing in more of like a transpersonal philosophy background into this, which again, I think is just helps us sort of try to understand exactly what these states are. We can only get so far with hard neuroscientific approaches, but and these approaches help us understand these experiences in other unique ways. And I really do believe that in unexpected ways, a neuroscientist that goes through Chris Beisch's talk, even though at first glance it just seems like pure philosophy, nothing that a neuroscientist could like take away from this, that there's still going to be unexpected ways in which it can connect into the work that someone in neuroscience or medicine is doing. And it's just in unexpected ways. And that's really, that's why these sort of interdisciplinary spaces are important. You can't always predict exactly how one thing will influence the other. It's just based on the principle that through this diversity of thought, something new can emerge that just fundamentally is not possible if everyone is segregated out in different spaces.
Most definitely. And again, the event is PhilaDelic. It's July 13th through the 15th at the University of Pennsylvania. PhilaDelic.org is the website. We'll be sure to get that linked into this, as well as a link for ticket purchases. The event, aside from the speakers, it looks like it's also, you are going to have mixers and workshops. So it really does look like it's going to be a fantastic opportunity to network and bring people together. With that in mind, Victor, is there a specific type of individual out there that maybe, you'd like to see come and attend this event outside of those that are already plugged into the psychedelics community? I know when I was out there at the University of Pennsylvania a few weeks ago for the screening of the Riley Cote film, we had some really fantastic people in the audience there that were bringing really great questions to the table. So I would imagine wanting to attract a diverse crowd and group of individuals is probably what you're looking for, right?
Yes. And yeah, I think this conference is honestly worthwhile to anyone with anyone ranging from like academics and researchers, their students, graduate students, faculty, all the way to people that are practicing as therapists or individuals that are just interested in this on a personal level, because this is, the density of the conference, I think, is actually pretty great, especially relative to like some other events. We're not trying to just have very long lectures by some of the most prominent voices, which has its value to have a long lecture, like several hour-long lectures. We're trying to fit in as much content as we can because we want this to serve as an overview for the field. And so we didn't want to have, for example, just one speaker on psychiatric applications, because that would probably do a disservice to that entire like subdiscipline in the field. We need to have several voices addressing this from different angles. And so anyone really that has an interest in this, whether professionally or just personally, will be able to really feel caught up on like the field just by attending this conference. And outside of the lectures that we have, which again, like 12 different topics, 32 speakers, at least 32 speakers at this point, is that we have workshops going on throughout the day and throughout both of the main days, with topics including how to set up a retreat center. So that's like a topic that you don't, and it's not really something an academic is thinking about. It's something more inclined to people that are in business or therapy. We also will have a lot of organizations present tabling. We are also going to have a poster session. That right now we have like 25 posters confirmed. So beyond just the speakers, we have some really amazing work from students, faculty, people in industry, physicians, and facilitators that are giving posters, and on both days. And so that's just another opportunity to continue learning, connecting with individuals, and those sessions are especially geared towards networking and connecting, because it is just a lot of small group discussions over people's work. And we also have that reception on Thursday before the conference starts. It's a 250 person reception. So that's like an incredible opportunity to start making those connections with people before the conference kicks off. So this really is a pretty unique opportunity to connect. There are other conferences happening this year, like Psychedelic Science 2023. And while that seems like it's going to be an amazing event, it's very, very large, very unwieldy. So if this is maybe your first conference, that could be a little overwhelming and hard to make meaningful connections at such a large event. But with PhilaDelic, it's a lot more intimate and small. The conference is 500 attendees large. So you have a lot more opportunities for one-on-one connections. And I think that's really, it's a very good conference for people just dipping their toes into the field, wanting to know what's going on, or people who are already very invested in this field, just wanting to get an update on like what's the most groundbreaking stuff that's been going on.
Well, you hit the nail on the head in terms of the intimacy component. I think that's what's important. I think that's what I look forward the most to with this event. I know it was the one thing that I appreciated with that screening event that we did a few weeks ago, was just smaller setting. I think you have the opportunity to have more personal conversations, open up, as opposed to the larger events, which of course are great. Yeah, not taking anything away from them. But these events here, such as PhilaDelic, do give you an opportunity to come together in a more intimate setting, as you said, and really have, I think, very important conversations that inspire more conversations, and so on and so forth. And I think for the space and where we're at right now in terms of its evolution and its push into mainstream society, I think these conversations are incredibly important. So, Victor, I really appreciate the work that you've put into this and helping to bring this event together, as well as all the other work and fantastic stuff that you're doing with the Intercollegiate Psychedelics Network and the Penn Psychedelics Collaborative. You've got a lot on your plate, but it really is helping to advance some very important things here. So I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you out in Philadelphia in July. Any closing thoughts, Victor, on PhilaDelic that you want to leave our viewers and listeners with?
No, yeah, I think you covered basically everything. I think I just would emphasize, the point of PhilaDelic is to help foster intellectual cross-pollination, spur creativity, expand our understanding, and provide a really holistic overview of the field. And it's also serving as the sort of launching event for the Penn Psychedelics Collaborative, which is a working group at the University of Pennsylvania with faculty and researchers across 5 different schools at UPenn. And so this is really our opportunity to also try to formally integrate the university into the field by highlighting a lot of the work that we already have going on at the university, as well as inviting individuals that really resonate with the work that we already are doing here, to help drive new scholarship at the university and beyond.
Wonderful. Well, PhilaDelic.org, again, is the website. Use the code word Spotlight and you get a 20% discount. So anyone out there looking to get tickets, you got a nice little hookup there, and we appreciate that. So again, Victor, thank you so much for your time. Again, super excited to see you out in Philadelphia in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.